All right, here we are. This is the Dayton Business Podcast, and I am here today with Cameron Whipp from the Breakfast Club. He owns 2 locations. He's the owner of 2 locations. One is in Lebanon, Ohio. The other one is in Springboro, the greater Dayton area. So I did not know this until just a few minutes ago, but he actually, the business, the Breakfast Club, actually started in Dayton, Ohio.
Absolutely.
So we're going to dive into this. Let's just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are and then how you guys started.
Yeah, so I'm the owner of the Breakfast Club. My name's Cameron Whipp. My dad actually started the Breakfast Club back in 1993, and before that he had two tiny restaurants called the White Towers in downtown Dayton, and then he opened the Breakfast Club later on. So he passed away in 2019, and that's kind of when I kind of took the reins over and we remodeled and tried to grow from there. But we actually started in downtown Dayton back in 1993, which is the year I was born. So he did it for a while. And then I think he had the White Towers for 8 years before that. But
wow.
So kind of hit the ground running. I grew up in it. It's something I always did, always loved doing. Loved working with my dad as well. He was a great teacher, very passionate about cooking and food in general, and it just came natural to him. So we kind of always hit it off there, and I kind of took over the reins and followed in his footsteps. But then obviously being a younger guy, I wanted to see what we could do and try to expand our reach and opportunities and create something new that was mine, that I kind of contributed to the business outside of what he had done. So we kind of went from there. But I grew up in Dayton. I've lived here my whole life. Loved it. Went to a number of schools around here, and then ended up going to a career center. Actually ended up finishing high school taking night classes because my dad had got injured. So I had to run the restaurant during the day. So I had to finish. So I went to high school so we didn't lose our family business. But I always loved it. I would think I was the only one that ever wanted to really dive in and take it over in our family. And so we've been excited. My wife's been a huge contribution to our success and always believing in me and whatever I'm working on at that time. So we opened a new location in Springboro, and we're rocking and rolling.
Dude,
having a good time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your dad started the Breakfast Club.
Yep.
When you were born.
Yep. Year I was born.
Bro, I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a business owner now.
Yep.
I'm 34 years old, but I've only been doing this for, 2-3 years. I know you've been doing it a little bit longer, but yeah. I have 2 small kids, and I can't imagine
it's intense
what that's like. Like, no, you have kids.
Yes, I do. Yep.
So
I got two beautiful boys, and actually we just found out we got a daughter on the way.
Congratulations.
So we're excited about that as well. Growing the family. We're growing everything if we can.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
How old were they when you took over?
So it's 2019. So my youngest would have been 3 and my oldest would have been 5.
Wow.
So they'll have probably a similar upcoming to what I did. And when my dad actually moved from downtown Dayton, and we moved to our Lebanon location, which is a funny story. He was going to find it, or I guess sign a lease for a different location, and then he drove by this just dump of a building at the time, and it used to be the old chili company, and it was absolutely horrible, and we all thought it was crazy. But he was like, "Nope, this is the spot right here." So canceled his meeting and kind of threw everything towards that one, and kind of got it rolling. But we used to stay in the campground, which I believe is a KOA now, right up the street from Lebanon. We'd stay there for weeks at a time just so that he could be close to work while he was getting it open, and you're low on staff and you're doing a lot of things yourself that you don't have people for. But yeah, so very, very fortunate to be where we're at now and to have a great team of people that help us out, and I've obviously learned a lot from him and was able to grow it a little bit, so we're very excited about that.
Man, so you're how old are you?
32
years old. Yep. You've been in it since 2019.
Yep.
So
27 I believe was the year I took it over.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had ran it for 6 years prior to that, so I had at least a general idea of what to do. It was day-to-day operations weren't hard. It was more the back-end business part that honestly was like, oh, that's what Dad was doing while I wasn't, while I was running the shop,
You're thinking like, why isn't he out here? Now you're like, oh,
because there's other things that you got to do too. Dang. So turns out, but yeah. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So, you're a local business owner in the Dayton area. You're in the food industry specifically.
Yep.
What things have you seen, trends have you seen in the last few years in, business in the area,
Big one I think would be, which probably everybody at home will understand, is food costs. It's gone up, but other than that, there's mostly seasonal trends, and a lot of them come and a lot of them come back, and you might miss out for a short period of time, but we try to always switch it up and do different seasonal things. That way we're kind of have something for those people when they come in during those times, But other than that, man, I don't know. People like what they like.
Yeah.
You just got to try to maintain good quality. That's probably the biggest thing, service and quality.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think those are huge, important pieces when it comes to, especially the restaurant industry, because it's kind of like the hotel industry where you kind of just have to make people feel good.
You do.
And that's the whole purpose of why you want them to feel good, is so they can come back.
Exactly.
And reinvest.
Well, if you do that, business. They will come back.
Exactly.
If you don't, they don't,
Correct.
And it's understandable. So,
yeah. So, hospitality is ultimately what you're providing.
Absolutely.
And, being in this industry, it's not just it's not important. It's the most important, right?
Absolutely. Service, I would say, is as important, if not more important, than your food. And it's probably something that's overlooked by a lot of places. It's something that we certainly always want to be as good at as we possibly can.
Wow.
But yes, sir, I think service is probably it may be more important than your food.
Yeah.
Can't give a bad experience and expect people to come back and spend money with you.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't either. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What does training look like what did it look like transitioning to a new store? So you started at a new location. You were in Lebanon, and then you transitioned to opening a new location in Springboro. And
yes,
what was that like, from going from 1 to 2, and being at your age? Did you feel like there was times where you're like, people didn't take you seriously with some stuff you were doing, or did you feel like you were over, did you feel over your head?
Yeah, over my head, absolutely. But I mean, I think that goes at most business owners. You feel over your head at some point, no matter what. That's that doesn't typically stop you. You got to keep pushing, and you get through that. But the transition was crazy. I will say that training. I would say it took about as long to build and open the new store and train people as it did prior, just to get a small store running independently by itself in a way that I was even comfortable to spend time on that. So that was probably the first part. It took me 2 years to do that, which probably gave me a lot of key points that I needed for the new store to train, and knowing that if something's not working, you got to change it, and you got to put something in place. And we've kind of grown out those positions, and we did have a rocky start, but you do your best, and you put your head down every day, and you fix those problems as fast as you possibly can, and you hire the people that you need, and you add the positions you need to add, and you get yourself there. But the transition was crazy, training a lot of new people when we had a store that was previously too small to kind of run those employees through and train them ahead of time a little bit. So that was probably our biggest hiccup, and something that if I ever did it again, I would most certainly lock down a lot on that, where you will have tons of POS training, tons of, more training than what we did, before we actually open up. But overall, I think it comes down to, you got to find good people. You can't do it. You can't do any of it by yourself. Especially with 2 locations. It's like you have to have people that you trust and that are as good as you. And until you do that, which that's the hardest part of probably most business, is, locking down those people and finding them and then making it worth their time.
Yeah. Training. Training and employment. What does that look like? What do you look for when it comes to employing someone, say for a server versus, somebody who's working in the kitchen?
Yeah. So, 2 totally different people that you're looking for in the first place. One probably doesn't want to be the person that's talking to the customers, and that's why they're probably working in the kitchen in the first place. The other, you're hoping, has some personality and some outgoing skills that, they can really make the people feel like they're at home and, so on and so forth. But training is obviously very different for both groups. Neither are necessarily easy to find really, really good ones, but when you do, and they figure it out. But most of the time you're hiring people that are pretty experienced servers. Whether they do it for you or they've done it somewhere else, they tend to have, some experience. So it's like, if you get a good server, you got a good server. You just got to figure out how to keep them and make sure it's worth their time and money,
Yeah.
So,
and like now going into getting other people that you trust, because that's another part of the business is you can't be in all places at once. You can't see everything. So what does that look like, getting to a place where you trust somebody to manage or oversee operations and things like that?
Yeah. So, I would say that a lot of times for me, I found almost better luck necessarily kind of curating those people and helping train people that maybe didn't know that was something that they were capable of, but you saw that like, you're extremely good at your job. And I don't think that you realize that you can take on a whole lot more. You're asking to take on more. And by the time you're there, it's like you've trained them. And sometimes it's better to do that than it is to just go searching for a manager from outside when you have people that are already very, very hard workers. They're smart people. They could 100% do the job. They just don't know that that's something that's even on the table for them. And then a lot of times I don't think people put the time in to train them how to do the job. And you can't expect them to do your, cover for you and be the person that can do the job that you do if you're not willing to spend the time to find a way to sit down and teach them outside of, yes, you're both have very long work schedules and you're both very busy, but you still, if you don't figure that out, it's like, it's never going to get easier for either of you. So, just kind of sitting down and making sure that you train those people and show people and give people an opportunity. Almost everybody that I've that manages all of my stores, they're people that have 100% worked with them to become, as good as they are. And it's like, and they're great. Wouldn't trade them for any manager that I could go find right now. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you? I just like talking about employment, at least in this sense right now, because I think it's a huge part of what's going on today in society. Absolutely. People are like, how do I find a job? Where do I find a job? What does it look like? But you talked about, their personalities can dictate where you want them to land. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And your willingness, honestly, is probably one of the biggest things. People that help and work as a team, we love you. We'll grab onto you, and that's who we want to keep. People that are toxic, we will not do that. If you come in and you have a bad attitude every single day, you're gonna make my 5 employees that are here working with you right in this small area, you're gonna make their day sour as well. So you can't keep it. Yeah. You absolutely cannot have that. You have to have people that are working in the same direction and that come in with good attitudes. Yeah. And then from there, it's like then we can start working on something. Yeah. And that's when you get a good team. So it's like attitude is in probably every job that's out there. It's like, if you have people around you with a poor attitude, it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. Yeah. So
dang, how many hours would you say, now pivoting a little bit, how many hours would you say that on an average week, and I'm not your lowest, but not your highest, but how many on your average would you say you put in your business?
Physically working at a location, 55. Everything outside of that, all of my Mondays, probably no less than 75 ever for the most part. I'll do 30 hours a week on, a week that we're gone 4 days out of the week. So, but like, I don't think about it like that. You're probably the first person that's ever asked me. I don't know if no one cares what hours I work. I don't care. I don't even think about it. So, you just do what you got to do. I don't really think of it as on a hourly stretch. Sure. What I put in this week, I just do what I got to do until it's done.
Yeah, you're the owner, so people don't think about it.
Yeah, you kind of caught me off guard with the question. Is like, man, I don't know what would that clock in like. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But
no, that's interesting to me. Do you who are the people that you surround yourself with? Or do you surround yourself? I know you work a lot. Well, you're working a good amount, but your friends, are they other business owners or are they who are they?
Both. Yeah, I've got like we were talking about earlier. I have one of my good friends was previously a professional soccer player. Now he's an investment banker. One of my other good friends is an IT guy that works in in Chicago. But then I've got another friend that lives right next to me that owns a local technology company. So it's like you try to surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing the same type of stuff, and if it's not in the same industry, that's still very sometimes it's more interesting to talk to those people. So you get to learn about what they do on a day-to-day basis, and it gives you a lot of context and a lot of cool conversations to have.
That's pretty cool. And that's why I asked that, because I feel like people who grow up in a 9-to-5 family or 9-to-5s, the majority of the country does. So absolutely. This is a different perspective for them that they've never had. Yeah. Me included. I'm this first-time business owner as a family. My family grew up, everybody was 9-to-5, except, my mother's family, they were from Peru. So my grandfather lived in Peru his whole life. Okay. And there he owned a few businesses. And I remember, it was amazing.
That's where you got it from.
That's what I always had an itch. Yep. He came here after my mom moved here like 40 years ago after she married my dad, he was born here. Yeah. And then my grandfather came over when I was like 5 years old. But from the day the time I would wake up to go to sleep, that man hustled, and he was in his 60s and 70s. And I'm like, why does he hustle like that? Very different from, no shame on it.
He enjoys the grind.
Yeah. And it wasn't like,
what else he gonna do?
I don't hate on my dad or my mom, but he just hustled a different way. Yep. And I'm like, why did he always have that mentality? Because as a business owner, that's something you see. But as somebody who's 9-to-5, you're like, oh, I'm punching out at 5 o'clock and I'm going home and I'm sitting on my couch and I'm doing my thing, or I'm going home and I'm doing my little projects. But you as a business owner, you're like, I'm going home and I'm going to do my projects, but then I still got to work on my business.
Still got to work on the business.
I still got to file invoices. I still got to.
Yep. Still going to have to send emails. You're still going to be getting phone calls. Something's going to break. Yep. All the time, man. Yeah. But I love that grind. That's one of the things I definitely learned. That was probably one of the most valuable things I learned from my dad, was just the grit and just to go get it every day. Find something and go and do it. And I loved the same thing that he did, so I went for that. But it's like you don't stop and you go every day. And we definitely don't. I don't think that most business owners would clock it hourly. It's a lot of hours, probably more than you'd be comfortable. If you actually did clock it, you'd be like, oh wow, that's a little bit ridiculous. But
where do I find my time for myself?
100%. But sometimes you don't. But you try to. It's healthy to find it somewhere. Sure. You got to.
Yeah. And no disrespect to my family. I love them. My mom, she hustled my whole life. So I get it. It's a different kind of, being a business owner is a different kind of mentality to have. And that's what I'm trying to pull out of this is like, you just don't have a normal thought process that other people would have.
Nope.
You have to have a different one. You have to see differently.
You have to think outside of the box. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't think about the project that's put in front of you. You have to think you're finding your own project and you're making it and you're building it from the ground up. You're finding all the answers and putting it all together. So it's fun though. That's the part that I think keeps the entrepreneurs going. Yeah. We love the grind.
Absolutely. Yep. So what do you invest in that's not just like financial? And when I say what do you invest in, like how do you give back to your community? How do you give back to people? And what does that look like? Is it a local thing?
To be honest, yes. The majority of the time it's people that reach out to us for local fundraisers, whether it's for the schools, whether it's for family members or whatever. And it's like, that's typically the stuff that we donate to. We'll give gift cards out. We'll give out coffee for raffles for just about anything that ever sends us something, which hopefully I don't get 1.5 million of them. Because, we can only go so far. But
I have a nonprofit. I'll reach out to you later.
Perfect. Gotta love it. But no, typically that's how it is. Like when we get someone that reaches out, it's like, if you guys are a legit organization, especially if it's something local to the community for where that restaurant's location is, mm-hmm. We typically have no problem. We love to give to those.
Wow. Yep. Do you guys have training programs or like things where kids could, if they wanted to learn how to do something, they could come do it at your location? Is that something you thought of before?
Yes, it's maybe not for kids, but I have thought about. We've one of my managers actually, he's discussed with him doing something that's like a teaching program to like show people how to do stuff. I don't know exactly how we would make it happen, but it is something that we have talked about and we have had some interest in. We've thought about doing private events and stuff in the evening, but for now we're trying to lock in and get our bread and butter, you know, do the things that we do well, and then kind of expand on those. The whole bar aspect was kind of new for us, so we've been trying to figure that one out and get it, which we're getting there. We're getting a little better, but we definitely still got a few things that we could add and do better in some of those areas. So we're trying to just get all that locked down. Then we'll think about maybe doing some other cool stuff.
Yeah. What has been your favorite thing about moving to the new location?
Springboro is a beautiful place, and I think the community's fantastic, and everybody, like, I don't know anybody that lives there doesn't love to live there. It's a great area, and it's grown, and everything's right there too now. It's like it's blown up so quickly that it feels like anything that you would want to do, you have at your fingertips right there, you know. Yeah. So city was fantastic to work with. Our builders were great to work with. Overall, pretty pleasant building experience. Better than it could have been worse. You know, I think it could have been worse for sure. So we're pretty happy about that.
Yeah. So it's not technically, we're not in Dayton, but we're in the greater Dayton area. You know, Springboro is, you know, considered that. So you mentioned something to me earlier when, and this is not a knock on Dayton, but it's a reality of where you guys were. Yep. And when you guys were in downtown Dayton, I mean, you mentioned how many times you got robbed.
A lot. Yeah. I would say that was probably the number one reason that we wanted to get out of there. Is it was like, and like you said, it's not a knock on Dayton, but if you have some people that are breaking into your basement, you coming in the morning, there's people sleeping in the basement of your restaurant, you know, it's a little scary, you know, it's not super fun. It's not what you're going for. And you're getting robbed by, you know, people that would literally clock out, come back in with a mask 30 minutes later and rob you. And it's just like, not somewhere we're trying to have our kids come in. Like I worked there. I bust tables, you know, when I was very young. So, I think I started, first time I bust tables there was 7 years old, you know, started bussing. So, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But very happy we got out of there. Yeah. And I didn't see it the same way at 7, but after you hear the stories and find out, you're like, whoo.
Oh man, I'm glad we are not there anymore.
Yeah, glad you guys made that decision. So that was very nice.
So what would you like to see? I know you grew up in this area. What would you like to see for Dayton? What are some things that you're like, man, I wish this was different?
You gotta, honestly, it feels like the downtown, it seems like they may be trying to do a couple of things right now with some projects and things that I've seen, but I think that honestly safety is probably a big one. I've even recently with like the RTA, you know, the bus station there, it's like people didn't even want to go use the RTA because it was dangerous at nighttime. It's like you have to lock down on crime, otherwise business doesn't want to do business there, you know. So it's like until you get that figured out, you know, they're always gonna struggle, I think. But obviously you need some outside investment. You're gonna need some companies to come in, but you gotta draw them in somehow. Yeah. You know. No. So I hope that they can clean it up. I hope that they can get it back to, you know, bustling a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, I've lived here close to 6 years now in Springboro, Franklin area. Yep. So I'm not too far. We're 15 minutes from downtown, right? You know, Dayton. We go there all the time, and just driving through, I'm like, man, I see the potential of what this city could be.
It could be amazing. It could be super nice.
Oh man, it's right on the water, you know, on the river. Yep. It's a gorgeous city, really. It is. It just needs some help, and
it definitely does.
I'm just hoping that we can, you know, something happens to where stuff starts to change. And I do agree, crime is, you know, a huge piece to really any city.
Absolutely.
But right now, it's a little bit of what is taking over.
Yeah, and I think they could use some attractions. They could use, you know, a number of different things that are, you know, like people want to come to places that are safe and fun. You know, you can do something fun. You can also eat some food. You can stay if you want to stay. You know, but it's got to be safe to kind of as like the, you know, base of that. It's you got to feel comfortable going there, you know. So it's like I do think the water piece is something that they should definitely be doing something about. It's like, come on, man, people love that stuff. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, and that
takes leadership, you know, and politicians that want to make it happen and can make it happen. So
absolutely,
we'll keep our fingers crossed for them.
You running for mayor?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Give me a few years.
Give me a few years. Yeah, I feel that.
Maybe.
What was it like growing up here, you know, when you were a kid outside of, you know, the restaurant stuff? Because you grew up in Dayton. So what are things that you remember?
So mostly sports, Caroline Park. But mostly we were always a sports family. I always loved playing sports. You know, grew up soccer and lacrosse and, you know, but Cox Arboretum, which I believe is Dayton area, still a greater Dayton area, but
it's like right up the mall up from the Dayton Mall.
Yeah, I would say we'd go to places like that. We actually lived right down the hill from it, so like
nice.
It was always somewhere. But when I was young, I also did BMX, so. I used to always ride all through downtown Dayton and loved it. Like that was probably my favorite part about it, is just like riding through the city, and it was relatively close. We would ride our bikes there. So, but yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Are there any other initiatives or things that you're passionate about when it comes to, giving back? Because I know you say you give back to, anybody who really is interested, but is there stuff that you're passionate about? Like, man, this is something I care about.
So yeah, as a family, I would say my dad passed away from cancer, and then my brother ended up kind of transitioning, going into that cancer research, studying, and now he's a doctor. He won the Ohio State something for pharmaceutical something this year, but. He kind of shifted more into that. They send us stuff for donations. we provide do what we can for it. But he's more gone to that. But that is something that is important to our family. Is just cancer, and I think it's disgusting how much it's grown over the last 20 years, and seems to be the thing everyone dies of. So I think we need to do something. Yeah, but
that's true, and I agree with you. And it's not fun. There's a lot of people that are, getting, unfortunately dying because of it. But I'm glad you're
down the road. I'd like to have a better answer on that one for you. Yeah. But to be honest, with just opening it's like
you're focused.
I've been head down here for a little while, and we'll break free here pretty soon. Sure. So we'll find more time for that stuff. So.
What's your next goal for the next 3 to 5 years?
Honestly, I would like to keep opening restaurants if we're able to. I don't know if my wife would necessarily say the same thing, but she does like the real estate piece of it, and she's very good at doing design and stuff like that, I think. So I think she enjoys that part. But yeah, we'll see. We have a couple of things in the bag that I'm working on right now that I'm not gonna let out yet. But
hold it tight.
Yes, but I do have a couple of things, and hopefully maybe if we do this again, I'll be able to dive in on those ones for you.
Man, that would be awesome.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. Bro. Man, it's been an honor to have you on.
Absolutely.
And I'm so, thankful for, having you on here. Give me a last bit of advice for anybody who's thinking about, starting a business here in the Dayton area. What would you do? Who would you get in contact with if you needed, if you're looking for advice or something?
Advice, hopefully you have a good group of people around you and you can go to them. But if you don't have a mentor, I highly recommend trying to find a mentor in just about anything that you're doing before you really, really dive in, because typically somebody who's hyper-focused or has already done similar things or is very knowledgeable in that thing that you're going into, it's real good place to start. And then if it's for finances, obviously someone who's educated in finances as well. You got to have good tax people. You got to get good CPAs. But most of all, if you're going to start a business, I would say don't listen to the people around you and persist always. Keep going. Like a lot of people, like you said, they're not going to see especially the 9 to 5 people. They won't see the same vision as you, and they're going to shut you down. So if you listen to that voice, you're never getting it off the ground.
Dang, very good, bro. Thank you for being on here.
Absolutely, buddy.
And that's been Dayton Business Podcast with Cameron Whipp, owner of the Breakfast Club. It's been awesome. Subscribe, and share this to anyone you know, and we'll be having a couple more coming out. Again, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.